am I still buying XCN as of right now? And do I still think it's worth it for me to buy this in this point in time in 2025? Well, personally for me, I would say yes. When I take a look at something like XCN, the way I view it is this. $1, that's my price target. And that right there is currently around a 100x from here. It's kind of crazy to think about. Actually, some people may think it's crazy. Well, here's the thing. XRP currently has a market cap of over $100 billion. And really, I just feel like this is not even a fully fledged bull run yet, and XRP is already doing that. XCN is pretty much a miniature version of XRP. And if it were to go to the price of $1, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $32.5 billion. I mean, come on. This doesn't seem like a tall order in my opinion, especially during a fully fledged bull run. Like let's say Bitcoin's at $250,000 and even beyond. Let's say Ethereum is already, let's say around $10,000 and maybe even more. Let's say XRP's at $15. XLM, let's say, is at $10. This doesn't seem too crazy in my opinion. Not to mention, we've seen like Dogecoin reach over $80 billion in market cap. We've seen Shiba Inu reach around $40 billion. And this was back in 2021, so years ago. This doesn't seem too bad. The crazy thing about XCN is this. It's pretty much as if I went in a time machine and was able to acquire XRP or XLM, but then at a much lower point. Now, of course, XCN is never going to defeat them, but I'm just saying it just kind of feels like a miniature version of that. But then I think it's a lot more dynamic. But some people would often argue that when it comes to the Onyx protocol, it's not really doing much. They think that, hey, this isn't that interesting. Well, in my opinion, the way you take a look at it is that they are actually doing things. Like, for instance, take a look at Goliath, which is this much anticipated layer 1 blockchain that could be so amazing for the world of finance, at least allegedly, that they do plan to launch the mainnet in 2026, in Q1 of that year, and the testnet in Q3 of this year, so in 2025. So they're doing something. Keep in mind, XCN had that pump not too long ago, pretty much not really having any hype surrounding it other than the fact that, hey, this is pretty much the next up-and-coming version of XLM or XRP, in a sense. Could you imagine that? So imagine if XCN did that, basically with not many bullish factors going on for it. Imagine this time around, once the crypto space picks up again, once Bitcoin goes to $100,000 again, and let's say it goes beyond $250,000, $200,000, maybe even more, at that point, really, I think the sky's the limit. And I think news like that, especially when it comes to Goliath, which really isn't that hyped as of right now, this is going to be something that could be so massive when it comes to XCN, but only time will tell. Oftentimes, during a fully fledged bull run, people are going to look for other alternatives. Not every single person who is focused on the payments market, global trade and finance, again, not every single individual is only going to gravitate towards just XRP and XLM, even though sometimes it may feel like that, but that is not always going to be the case. They're always going to look for other alternatives, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen. And XCN is kind of like that because you got to think about how, first of all, there's not even that many options to begin with, at least that are reputable, because XRP and XLM, number 1 and 2. Number 3 and number 4 is XDC and XCN. Number 5 and number 6 is ZVCN and XPR. Many people can't name a 7, 8, 9, or 10, or maybe even more. So really, when people look for other options, it's not like there's 30 notable competitors. So again, XCN is in this unique position. This is how amazing it is. The crazy thing about the Ripple and SEC case that happened, right? Of course, historically, we take a look at that hopefully now is gone forever because of the lawsuit dropping allegedly. Because of that, again, historically speaking, of that nonsense that went down, not many developers wanted to enter into this space because of the reputation. But now that's a blessing in disguise for something like XCN because not that many dynamic competitors. Naturally, if there's not that many options to begin with, of course, the probability of those that are already there is just going to naturally be higher, at least in my opinion, right? At least theoretically. So the way you take a look at it is that when it comes to something like XCN, it's in this very unique position, and I do like it. It's focused on very amazing markets when it comes to Onyx. The payments market valued at over $2 trillion currently. The global trade and finance market, which is predicted to reach up to $5 trillion by 2028, according to Mordor Intelligence. And then there's not that many competitors. I mean, this is a no-brainer for me. And also, keep in mind, XCN is listed in very reputable exchanges. Take a look at Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, Gate.io. This is really going to matter during a fully fledged bull run because people need easy access right? In my opinion, sure, some other projects out there that are only available in some random exchanges no one's pretty much ever heard of, or let's say they're listed in some random decentralized exchange. Sure, we've seen them do well, but really, when it comes to being listed in these major exchanges with a lot of users, the way to take a look at it is that this is really going to help it. Take a look at Dogecoin and Shiba. That benefited greatly from being listed in many major exchanges. If they weren't, they wouldn't have done that well back in 2021, or even as of right now, let alone. If people have very difficult access to it, it's going to be very difficult to generate that FOMO, that buying pressure, that buying volume, especially during a fully fledged bull run. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I'm just saying it's a lot more difficult. So when it comes to XCN, it's already pretty much had that step done for it, which is amazing because other projects out there, they focus on creating good fundamentals, and then the last part is really being focused on these amazing exchange listings. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to XCN, it's already done the preliminary sort of good exchange listings. Now it's just all about developing Goliath. Now it's all about just the crypto space going up again. So really, it's already kind of covered its bases. This is how amazing it is. It has the mentality of, hey, we should gain attention and hype, much like a meme coin project, but at the same time, it's not a meme coin. So then this is how amazing it is. I do like this when it comes to XCN. When we take a look at the space overall, it's still far from over in my opinion. Historically speaking, as a worst case scenario, altcoins, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Based on the last Bitcoin halving event that happened in April of 2024, that would actually mean around October this year. I'm still staying patient because I think better days are ahead. Now, does this guarantee that things will peak at that time? No, it doesn't. It's just based off history. But in my opinion, I'm still going to stay patient nonetheless because I made it this far. I believed in XCN when it was boring, when no one believed in it. Then it pumped. Now, of course, there's a big pullback, but in my opinion, the lower something is, hypothetically, the more room it has to grow, which is why I'm not going to give up. I'm going to be waiting anyways. So if let's say I wasn't waiting on XCN, I'm still going to be waiting, right? So then why would I give up? Makes no sense. $1, that's still my price target. And when people like to tell me that, oh yeah, when it comes to XCN, it has no future, my response is that as long as something like XRP and XLM has a future, which a lot of people do believe it does, I think it's only fair to assume that this will have a future as well, because this is kind of like saying, hey, if Bitcoin is going to go to the price of $250,000, Ethereum is going to go to the price of $10. That doesn't make sense, right? Of course, if Bitcoin grows, Ethereum is pretty much going to grow along with it, at least in theory. And I think it's no different here. If let's say something like XRP and XLM has a future, I think this will too. So when people ask me, hey, is it worth it? Again, I can't speak on anyone's behalf. But in my behalf, I would say yes, personally for me, because I think it's a no-brainer, really. It's kind of like a miniature version of XRP and XLM. If I were to put an analogy on it and $1, that's still my price target for this Bora. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciated. It's Millie the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.